welcome to another edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast as we are broadcasting from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Yes, get all the info on Anidjar and Levine and my show at markmosesshow.com. And we're now joined by my main man to talk NFL here on a Monday. Yes, Luke Easterling-Athlon Sports. We got much to discuss, including his 3-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who like to drive him crazy every Sunday. Luke, how you doing today, buddy?
I've finally caught my breath. It's nice to have 3 wins instead of 3 losses. But when they're by a total of 6 points, the Bucs have won games by 3, 2, and 1 point so far this season. But hey, man, it's sweet to be 3-0. Like Todd Bowles always says, it's hard to win in this league, and no matter how they come, the pretty ones and the ugly ones all count the same amount in the win column. So I'll take it. I really wish they would stop making it so dramatic at the end there, turning a 23-6 game into a needing a last-second field goal at the end. But I tell you what, the Bucs have a 2-game lead on the rest of the NFC South. They got a really tough stretch of their schedule coming up here. But to have as many injuries as they've had, to have the adversity that they've faced over these last 3 weeks, and to still be 3-0 says a lot about this team. And I think it says that they're going to be a really tough out, and nobody's going to really want to play this team when it comes playoff time.
I like your breakdown there. It really feels like the Buccaneers have been playing with fire. And when the Jets blocked it, run it back for a touchdown. And I know their new coach for the Jets, Aaron Glenn, he's doing the fist pump. He's dancing. I would have been like, okay, fine. The way you've been playing, you go to 2-1. Hey, the ball didn't bounce your way. But, dude, again, I think he's an MVP candidate. Baker Mayfield, game on the line, 3rd straight week, sets him up for a field goal. They get it done. What were your thoughts on that final possession when the Bucs had to score there?
Yeah, I think, again, if you don't want Baker Mayfield in that spot, I don't know how many other quarterbacks you want right now in that spot. And I'll say this. You mentioned the 3 straight weeks. No quarterback in the history of the NFL since the merger in 1970 has done this in each of the first 3 weeks of the season to score a game, to get a game-winning score in the final minute of the game in each of your first 3 weeks. Baker's the only quarterback to ever do that in NFL history. And so it speaks to, and specifically in this game, because the way they got behind, right? I mean, it was 23-6 in the 4th quarter. And to have the Jets come all the way back and then to block the field goal that was supposed to put you up by 9 to give you a 2-score lead with 2 minutes left, to watch that entire league disappear. And now not only did you miss the field goal, but now you're down by 1 with 2 minutes left. And now you got to go back down the entire field. I think there was a part of every Bucs fan that was like, okay, that's all right. We can do this because we've done it the last 2 weeks. And I think Baker is I think he's a special player, man. There are 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, pending tonight's game, the Lions and the Ravens. 3 quarterbacks in the NFL this season who have at least 5 touchdown passes and no interceptions. They are Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Baker Mayfield. So I think if you're looking for an MVP candidates, I think you have to start with those first 2. But if you're looking at a quarterback who has engineered 3 straight game-winning drives in the final minute, and they're 3-0, and he's throwing 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, he's making plays with his legs as well as either of those other 2 guys are doing right now. Go look at the clutch runs he's made throughout the first 3 games of the season. I don't know how Baker Mayfield's not in the top 3 in terms of the MVP conversation. I know it's a long season. Lot's going to change, but everything they've had to deal with. This offensive line on Sunday had nobody playing their normal starting position, okay? There were 2 starters on the field, but neither of them were playing where they normally play. Graham Barton, who's usually the center, was playing left tackle because Tristan Wirfs is still out. Ben Bredesen, who plays left guard, was playing center because Barton was playing left tackle. The 2 starting guards yesterday were Luke Haggard and Elijah Klein, who have never started an NFL game in their entire careers. And then at right tackle, you've got Charlie Heck in for Luke Gedeke, who's on injured reserve. Charlie Heck was so bad at left tackle during camp and preseason that they moved Graham Barton from center to left tackle just to avoid playing him. And then Luke Gedeke goes down, and now they've got to play him anyway. So Baker is doing all of this with a absolute skeleton crew of an offensive line that's just trying to hold it together. He hasn't had Chris Godwin on the field at all through these first 3 weeks. Mike Evans gets hurt late in the 4th quarter, but he's not on the field for that game-winning drive at the end. I mean, no matter what scenario you put number 6 in, he just seems to get the job done. And memo to Drew Brees, who wants to keep parroting this whole who scares you in the NFC South? There's no real difference between the Saints and the Bucs. The Bucs just keep winning games and the Saints just keep losing games. Yeah, that's how it works, Drew.
That's how you play.
The only difference between the Bucs and the Saints is the Bucs have won all their games and the Saints have lost all their games. So I guess if you want to get into semantics, wins and losses, if that's how that works for you, but I hate to tell you that's how they determine who's good and who's not, is who finds a way to win at the end and who finds a way to lose 44-13 to the Seattle Seahawks, by the way. So, kudos to Drew for continuing to try to will his Saints to be in the same echelon as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's just not the reality, buddy. I'm sorry.
Wow. He got that all off his chest. And I want to say this to people who are just listening to this podcast, you didn't look at any stat sheets to break down that offensive line. Okay, that was fantastic. I've been waiting 24 hours to say this to you. On the final drive, that was a catch by Ibuka on the side.
Of course it was.
It's a catch.
Not only was that a catch, but Alan Lazard's touchdown was not a catch. He dropped that ball, and it was laying on the ground for everyone to see, and they still called it a catch. And, I go back and watch the first quarter of that game. The Bucs were called for like 12 penalties in the first quarter or something, like 7 or 8. I think it was ridiculous. Like holding, they called them for holding like 3 or 4 plays in a row. And it was absolutely bonkers, a terribly officiated game all the way around. But again, you've got to be better than all of those exterior factors. You've got to be so good that it doesn't matter who's out there on the offensive line. It doesn't matter that Mike Evans is out of the game. It doesn't matter that Chris Godwin still isn't out there. It doesn't matter that Jalen McMillan's not out there. It doesn't matter that the refs in the NFL, again, this isn't a Bucs problem. This is an NFL problem. Officiating the NFL is just bad. Like, it's not a good product in any way, shape, or form, and it hasn't been for a very, very long time. Nobody cares. What do you do with what you are given? And all Baker Mayfield and the Bucs have done is win football games this season. Right. And I think that's all that matters at the end of the day anyway. This week, might get Chris Godwin back, might get Tristan Wirfs back. Mike's probably going to be out for a little bit. But this team, no matter what chicken, you hand them, they're making chicken salad every single week, and it tastes pretty darn good when at the end of the day you have more points than the other team.
All right, let's go over this. In the span of about 20 minutes yesterday, the witching hour probably, you had blocked field goal for a touchdown by the Jets. Yep. I think Philly blocked 2 field goals, and then Cleveland, I think there were 5 of them. But, dude, when I'm seeing that all in real time, I'm like, the Bucs are probably going to lose this game. But you're right.
Yeah.
They didn't. They found a way to win. It is wild. So let's go over this. Eagles at home. Game of the year so far in the NFC, my thoughts. First month of the season. 1:00 with the kick. Should be at 4:25. Then at Seahawks. Niners at home. I don't know. Mac Jones. Who knows who the quarterback is in that game. And then at Lions. A game that the Bucs won early. I think week 2 last year on the road. The only loss regular season for Detroit. Dude, let's start with this Eagles game. Is it a toss-up? How do you look at this matchup right now?
I think if you watch the Philly game yesterday, you're just wondering which Eagles team is going to show up. The team that we saw in the first half, which was awful against the Rams, or the team that came back and won the game in the second half, because I think they're capable of being both of those teams. And again, I'll kind of point to last year. The Eagles lost 1 game last year by more than 3 points on their way to winning a Super Bowl. And it's when the Bucs beat them by 17 in like week 4 or 5. They beat the brakes off them. And Eagles will say that they had injured guys. So did the Bucs. The Bucs had a couple key guys out. The Eagles had a couple of key guys out. And the Bucs still beat them by 3 scores. They were the only team to beat them by more than 3, and they beat them handily. So, and go back a couple of years ago, the Bucs beat a lot of similar team to this Eagles team in the first round of the playoffs a couple of years prior. They match up well, I think, with this Eagles team. And I think that both teams are probably going to be banged up a little bit because everybody's dealing with something. But if the Eagles don't play for 4 quarters like they did in the second half and late in that game yesterday, and the Bucs bring the best of what they're capable of, I think this could be a dogfight. Again, if the Eagles play 4 quarters like they did yesterday and play really good football, and the Bucs kind of succumb to the injuries and they finally, play down to a lot of their exterior circumstances, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles get them on a bad day, just because, again, there's a lot of mental toughness it takes to keep taking those blows and to keep figuring out ways to win against teams, let's be honest, that haven't been very great. They've beaten the Falcons, the Texans, and the Jets, who are proving to not be very good football teams right now. The Eagles, I think, are a very good football team, and I don't think the Bucs are going to be able to squeak one out in the same way against that team. So, I expect Philly to win just because they probably should, but it's hard to bet against the Bucs team that no matter what you throw at them, they just have been figuring out a way to make it work.
Yeah, what happened yesterday? Jamel Dean with the pick 6, right? So you got to take that towards the points. If you look at it, you take a step back. What are the Bucs scoring on offense? 20? Barely on offense? Yep. I mean, do you feel like they have to score at least 25 to 27 points to win this football game?
I think you're probably going to have to. And part of it is, again, you've got Kalijah Cansey out for the season, basically, with the pectoral injury. He just had surgery. So you're missing your best interior pass rusher. The pass rush still relies too heavily on the blitz to create pressure. That's I think part of the problem is that they're getting close, but not finishing the job. They're getting pressures, but they're not getting sacks unless they bring extra rushers, which again, Todd Bowles loves to do. We all know he loves to bring those exotic pressure looks and bring corners and safeties and linebackers to the blitz party. But if they can cover well enough on the back end to send those extra rushers, that's fine. Jalen Hurts is just a tough guy to bring down. And I think if it's just going to be a tough matchup if they can't get consistent pressure. And you've got to figure that team with that much talent on offense, Barkley and the receivers that they have with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and the dual threat ability that Hurts brings to the table. He's a similar quarterback to Baker in their ability to win with their arm and their legs and their competitiveness and their leadership. They're smart quarterbacks, both of them. I think it's going to be it has the makings of a really, really good game, but I agree. I don't see the Bucs winning this game unless they can put 24 plus points on the board.
All right, you're 3-0 like we're saying. We're here at Luke Easterling talking Buccaneers football. The next 4, like I said, Eagles at home, at Seahawks, Niners at home, then at Lions. Dude, if you can go 2-2, and I would take that. I know, look, the Bucs are the guys in the locker room are like, no, we want to win all. I get it. I know you want to win all 4. Yeah. You can go 2-2 over that murderer's row and then head into late October. I'd be 3-1 would be great. 2-2 I'm fine with. How about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think especially with the injuries that they're dealing with, if they can split this next 4 games, again, then you're sitting at what? You're 5-2 and going into now. Then you play the Saints. You got some more division games. You got some more winnable games. I know they still have to play Buffalo. They've still got some tough ones ahead, but yeah, if they split this series and get close to the bye week, still that far ahead of 500, again, in a division that has gotten off to a very slow start, they are 2 games ahead of everybody. You got 1-2, 1-2, 0-3 in the rest of the NFC South. So I think that helps them a good bit. If they can split this next 4, I think they'll still be on top of the division by at least a game. And that's where you want to be as you look forward to the second half of the season.
The Falcons game was shocking to me.
Shocking. I played the Falcons defense in one of my fantasy leagues. I played Michael Penix because I'm like, hey, they're gonna go all out on these Panthers. And I love these games because it reminds us, A, none of us know anything. And B, everyone in the NFL is so good all of the time. Like you have no idea how good the worst team in the NFL is because the Panthers are capable of dropping a 30-0 shutout on a team that everybody expected to compete for the NFC South title. Because that's just the way it works, man. The worst player in the NFL is still so much better than you think he is, and that's a game that illustrates that so well.
And the storyline, hey, Bryce Young is the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. They won 30-0. Now, I get it. Look, there's other guys that helped out. But then C.J. Stroud is completely struggling now. 0-3. It's fascinating. You know what? The hell with them. I have 5 minutes with you. We have to do this. I know you say there's a big game tonight, but who leads the NFL in touchdown passes and what receiver has the most touchdown catches? Bizarre to say out loud. Caleb Bleepin Williams and Rome Odunze. How is that happening? Is it the Cowboys defense? What is it? Come on, man.
I mean, partly, let's be honest. That's got to be part of what's going on here. But listen, we're talking about 2 top 10 picks from 2 years ago, right? Like this is what everybody envisioned when they made those picks, was that type of connection, that type of potential. And now you're starting to see Ben Johnson's genius unlocking their physical traits and their abilities, and those things coming together. The flea flicker to Luther Burden III, which we talked about I've talked about multiple times. Colston Loveland and Luther Burden III were completely absent the first 2 weeks of the season. Everybody's like, oh my God, what's going on? They were both involved on Sunday, and Luther Burden with the big touchdown catch. That offense, the sky's the limit, man. If that defense can even be above average, I think the Bears can be a problem. The problem is they don't get to face the Cowboys defense every week, so things are going to be harder a lot of the time. But man, it was fun to see the best of what we thought Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze can be, especially in Ben Johnson's offense in Chicago. It was fun to watch them do that, and to make Jerry Jones sad is always fun. So I like to see him do it against Dallas. It was great.
They're going to play Washington on Monday Night Football in a couple weeks. Oh, baby. Because it's going to be the 1 year anniversary from you know what. The worst ending ever. And again, I'll just end with this with you. The Ibuka pick, gigantic. At the time, people were questioning, well, you already have wide receiver. No. You can make a case. He's been just as valuable to this offense as Baker Mayfield. He has come up big. And I'm hoping, hey, 1,000-yard season as a rookie. My expectations for him through 3 games, now he is a big-time vocal point of this offense. I know you might have injuries. Who knows? Dude, I'm all in on Ibuka. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, everything they said about him from the moment they drafted him was like he acts like a 10-year vet already. He does everything well. He's trained at every wide receiver position. So now that Godwin's coming back and Evans is going to be out, he'll just flip and go be Evans now, which again, very different receivers. He's not going to win in the same ways, but he can do the responsibilities in terms of the alignment and the routes and those sorts of things because he's been trained at all of those spots. So Godwin can come in and take more of the slot role that he's used to. Ibuka can kick out. But I mean, everything you hear from everybody in that building about who he is as a teammate, a person, a player in terms of his skill set. Again, and this is everybody wanted to be like, oh, why are they taking a receiver? At what point will you guys stop doubting Jason Light as one of the best general managers in the entire NFL? There's a reason this team has the longest streak of playoff appearances of any team in the NFC, 4 straight division titles, and a Super Bowl victory. Jason Light has built a cohesive culture and an organization that from the top to the bottom, in terms of the ownership, to the front office, to the coaching staff, to the player development, everybody is on the same page. They know what they're looking for in their players. They have the coaching staff to be able to develop them. They know how to fit everybody into the specific roles. Watch Jacob Parrish, the rookie 3rd-round pick out of Kansas State, the slot corner they have now, had a huge sack on Sunday. He's been great in coverage. There's so many guys that are making such an impact. But Emeka Ibuka, he checks all of those boxes that this team always values highly, especially in the first round, in terms of pro readiness, their ability to be good teammates right away. They invest just as much in the person as they do the player. And the more you kind of looked at who Emeka Ibuka was and took away the whole, oh, they don't need a receiver, they got to go defense, the more it made sense that he was always going to be a Buccaneer, because he just checked so many of those boxes for them, even in an intangible way. And man, the on-field product has spoken for itself. I think he's the front runner for the Offensive Rookie of the Year so far. And I think his value and his role in this offense is only going to expand as the year goes on. And I think he's going to be in Tampa Bay for a very, very long time.
Yeah, if you relook at it, all right, who looks dangerous now? Ibuka and the guy in the Bears you just said from Missouri. Bird, I mean, like, dude, there are teams in the top 10 who probably wish they would have taken that wide receiver from Ohio State.
100%.
All right, we got the big game coming up tonight. Follow this guy on Twitter. He's everywhere. Yes, with Athlon Sports. He is Luke Easterling. My man, thanks for your help and have a great day.
Hey, always a pleasure, Mark. Take care, buddy.